What is up, everyone? Today I'm going to be talking about how the world right now is more or less the best time ever to live. Now, obviously, I'm comparing this to the past, and even the last, we're not talking the last 1,000 years or 100 years ago or 500 years ago or even 50 or 20 years ago. Right now, the present time is probably the best time ever to live in. If you're living in a first world country like the United States, you are really very much lucky off. Just think about it. Not let's just take it back a minuscule amount just to show you guys what I mean. Let's just say 100 years ago, there was a time when you would have emerged into this world and you could have been born black or female, and your chances of achieving success were much harder. You didn't have any resources whatsoever. If you were black, you couldn't even drink out of a water fountain or go to the same bathroom as the superior race. And then for females, you were brought up in a time where everyone told you you were not worth as much as a male, and you weren't given the same opportunities, you weren't given anything. But moving on from that, let's just talk about information. Okay, there was a time and day when school was very tough to get into. It's even tougher now, but there's plenty of resources now that you could learn for free the same stuff that many people had to fight over to just obtain that information, let alone digest it, spend the time to consume it, and so forth. Just think about stuff like Harvard Business School or Yale Business School. They offer their whole first year business courses online for free. I know the grammar is wrong. They offer all the first year of business courses for free. Sorry, a little bit of my Asian ancestry and fresh off the boat knowledge kicked in there. But nonetheless, the point is though that you're now getting stuff like that for free. And I know maybe you're not going to business school, but I guarantee you now that whatever you want to learn is probably available to you close to free, especially if you're in the United States. You probably have a public library, and whether it's mechanical engineering or physics or how to program something or whatever it is, it's probably available to you at either a very low cost or completely free, either through the internet, through Google search, through websites that literally teach you this stuff for free, or videos online that teach you it for free. And none of this stuff was available to people in the past. And there's been plenty of people in the past, again, the world is a very competitive place, who have been trying and striving to make their ends meet. I mean, there's people who had that mentality of just trying to survive. People, many immigrants from numerous countries who had nothing to eat, but there's this one story where they had nothing to eat but carrots because of the poverty in, I think it was Germany during World War II, and everyone turned orange because of it. And so that's the sort of stuff that you have to consider. These people, they didn't have much resources at all, and basically they strive for every opportunity to make their lives better, and oftentimes they just didn't have the information or the resources to obtain that level. I know it from first-hand experience, just from generations that were my parents' age. I've spoke to a lot of them, and my parents included. They've experienced instances, and their lives are pretty much culminations of not having the resources available to them that you have now. There are people out there who are smart enough to get into school, but where they lived didn't offer the schooling or teaching to get them to that level. And it still goes on and on nowadays in third world countries. you may be smart enough to be a doctor, by all means, and it could be your dream, but you don't have it. You don't have that degree. You don't have that school, and you can't apply it outward because of political reasons and so forth. And these sort of things play into it. And maybe you're not trying to be something as advanced as an engineer or a physicist or something like that. But I guarantee you, if you look hard enough, now is the time and age where most things are there for you, for the taking, at either a very low price or for free, if you just look hard enough. I learned this myself because I looked hard enough. There are websites out there that do a really damn good job of teaching you how to program from scratch if you have no knowledge of it, and it's free. There are things out there where they can teach you how to make music, and they offer you they offer you platforms and programs to create new age music or compose even classical music, either free or at a reduced price. Whereas back in the day, not even a few decades ago, you had to pay tons and tons of information or tons and tons of money just to be able to obtain that. And it goes on and on and on. The internet's a great place, and it's just not just the internet. The public library, every year it's advancing. And you see that every year. It's not just libraries either. It's school systems. It's buildings. It's everything. And the public library, you think it's just a place to get books. That's not even the case anymore. You can now stream for free movies, audiobooks, music, lectures, videos, and they have systems set up where you can now request books from libraries all across the nation or wherever for free, because they've set up a system where they can exchange books if your local library doesn't have it. Those sort of things are definitely going to help you out, and those are the type of things that people didn't have back in the day, and it's something that's constantly changing. And so for any of you to whine and say, "Oh, I have it bad," or "Oh, this sucks," it's like, no, you probably had it better than 99% of history, whether you're talking 10,000 years ago or 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago or 100 years ago, just 100 years ago, where one of the leading causes of people dying from giving birth was the simple fact that doctors didn't wash their hands in between taking care of people. And you might think these things are sort of stupid now, but it took a lot of scientific experimentation and knowledge to figure it out. And I'm sure if you lived in that time and age, or if you brought back your knowledge now without anyone ever telling you about that, you probably wouldn't have been able to figure it out, why all these mothers were dying so often. And quite frankly, you probably would have thought it was the norm. Oh, it's normal for so many women to die giving birth. So plenty of things now you should be much more thankful for, whether it's something as simple as long distance phone calling. There was a time, believe it or not so long ago, where loved ones were far away and you had to reach them only by mail, and it was just very sad and very painful because there's no real humanistic touch there. You sent a letter, which was all right, but it was different because you couldn't see them, and on and on and on. And am I saying that everything nowadays is better, or does it all end up in making people more happy? Oftentimes, not so much. The ease with certain things come, especially with technology, has oftentimes created a state where we're pretty much lazy and we pretty much take things for granted, and it can cause all sorts of other problems, like make you very antisocial because you're all in your room all day on the computer, yada yada yada. and it goes on, and you can end up foregoing or being unable to obtain a lot of qualities that humans need, like friends and so forth. But generally, as far as the opportunities and the information and resources we have, first off, I don't think people understand and appreciate just how great that is. And I guess the biggest way is to figure out, first off, what you want to do, and then see how far the rabbit hole goes. Because, quite frankly, you'll be surprised how much free information or paid information is available to you. And if you just, compare that to uh, 10 years ago, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, uh, those were times that were much, much different. And even if you happen to be in the lucky, you were born in the lucky niche. I'm talking well-privileged white males. Even then, it's like, you know, it, you still, it wasn't, nothing was guaranteed. You still have to work through a whole lot, and a lot of things that are now available to plenty of people for free, such as all these books that you need to read in order to do well in your field or get the practice in your field, become a business leader, a CEO, or something as simple as equality in terms of sports. Those are things that only recently advanced. If you were good at basketball 100 years ago or 200 years ago, do you think it would have mattered? If you go back far enough, no matter how good at you were at basketball, oftentimes it didn't matter because who cares if you're good at basketball? It's slavery. We're living in a time of slavery. There is no basketball. Who cares if you can throw a ball into a net or a basket? What does that matter? You're in a time of slavery. You go farm a plantation, and that's I'm not being racist either. Like, same thing for my race and every other race. Whether you're Hispanic or Asian, if I lived 150, 10, 200, 500 years ago, my opportunities, my resources, my advantages were very much diminished, and you were pretty much told, for me, I probably need to study up on Asian history because I don't know too much, but I'm assuming I would have been a farmer of some sort, a rice farmer, and I would have had a very simple, basic life filled with a lot of cultural revolution, political upheaval, potentially just political stifling, and pretty much told from the time I was born that, based on the system we live, you probably are not meant for much, and therefore you, like 99% of this system, this caste system, and it goes for Indians as well. Hey, you're just stuck here and you're screwed. And when you look at history, life is very, very tough, very, very competitive, and very, very unfair. Look at the Native Americans; they were just destroyed by the white settlers. The white settlers knew that they carried new diseases that the Native Americans were not exposed to and did not have immune systems for, so they gave over false gifts. They would cover themselves in blankets so that their germs cover the blankets, and then give these things out as gifts to the Native Americans, thus destroying their race, decimating them, and then all sorts of other stuff. Genghis Khan, as well as the European settlers, they pillaged, they raped women, they killed Native Americans. I mean, just think about that. You had these bow and arrows, they had guns. Whether or not you lived righteous lives, you're still going to be shot down in the war by that gun. And it goes on and on and on. There's that movie, The Last Samurai, and it depicts the advent of the machine gun, and then the samurais fighting against these, and it goes on and on. It's not very fair. It's quite honestly not. And so for you to be born in this time and age, you should be very, very grateful. And more so than that, it's um, there's a element of constant unpredictability. You don't know how long you have. You could die the next day, get hit by a car, uh, get have a plane crash. You could be in the next 9/11. You never know, and all these things happen. And the more you read about it and research it, you realize how crazy it is. So that's all I really want to say in a nutshell. And um, I hope it illustrates that no matter what your ethnicity, what your race is, what your socioeconomic background, even if you're born into an inherited family, 9 times out of 10, if not 10 times out of 10, you were probably better off being born into this world with that, with the chance of that you could have been born in any uh, race or any location versus many other years ago. Now that's obviously still not true for many other third world countries, but if you're living in a first world country, and most likely if you're watching this video, you're probably pretty well off because you're probably watching this through YouTube, through my YouTube channel, and that implies that you probably have internet access, and that implies you probably have at least some decent other stuff. And what can I say? It's quite a strange world, and um, I'm sure you guys, if you're smart enough and you listen to my advice, you can start implementing that and invest in yourself. Use the resources that you have available rather than squander them, because there are plenty of people, not so long ago either, maybe even just a generation before you, your parents' generation, who worked very, very hard and just didn't have the resources you have and didn't have the opportunities you had. I'm sure there's thousands, if not millions, and hundreds of millions of people who had the potential that you have now. Maybe they were very smart. Maybe they had the knack to be the world championship, the champion of chess or tennis, or maybe not a sport, but the next Bill Gates or someone greater than Bill Gates. But they were born into a time and age where that was not opportunity. The internet and technology was not invented, or chess was not introduced to them, or they were just shuttled straight to the concentration camp because the Nazis were, shuttling all these Jews into the concentration camps and pretty much killing them there because they thought they were useless for everything, and pretty much just making them do factory work. And I do think that the world as a whole is still undervaluing the potential that we can have. And I think the United States, although it's definitely been one of the best systems in unleashing that potential, still has quite a bit of way to go in just increasing that, because I don't think they're fully there either. There's probably a lot of underprivileged children in downtown areas or very sketchy areas, even in the United States, who are told by their teachers that they can't do anything. They don't have the potential to. And that's just one of those hurdles you have to reach. Sure, it's better than certain areas of China where you're shuttled into a factory and you pretty much convinced that you have no destiny or potential other than, a menial factory worker. But still, it's not perfect. And I honestly believe that if I was placed into a different scenario, if I grew up in China, I probably, assuredly, would have, believed whatever I was told to a certain extent. And I wouldn't be surprised if I ended up a factory worker or so forth in those situations. So it makes you wonder how many people. This was a quote Warren Buffett said. It was a quote he remarked on when he went to China. He visited China. He noticed the tens of thousands of factory workers, and he said, "How many Bill Gateses are in those ranks?" and he was saying he was remarking on the lost potential there. And obviously, this concept isn't perfect because potentially for that great extent of amazing power and amazing potential as the CEO of Microsoft, you're probably it's going to be like a 1 in 1 million thing. So that means like 900,000 other failures. But I don't think that's the case. I think there's a bell curve, and plenty of people can be just as successful, not close to as successful as Bill Gates, but still very, very successful. You don't need $60 billion to do well, and be much happier and provide much more to society and be more fruitful. I think China is obviously taking a lot of steps. They've created a new system I don't know too much about, but it seems like it's much more open to unleashing that potential. But I do think it still has to work on unleashing the potential in females and eliminating these irrational beliefs that the females can't do as much. And it really makes me wonder how many other ignorant, illogical, debilitating, limiting beliefs that cultures as a whole and nations have that have yet to be eliminated, when in this day and age many nations and countries out there are still having prejudices and discrimination and beliefs that say that this group can't do as well as this group, and therefore we shouldn't give them that opportunity. It's just limiting so much belief out there. But I do think that we've come a long way in the United States. As far as gender, we've come a long way. I think we're almost there. Homosexual equality, we're almost there as well. I don't think it's as bad as slavery. And as far as ethnicity, slavery and segregation and racism, I think we've come a long way, but it's not perfect. I don't know if it will ever be. Part of that discrimination may be there just by the definition of that. Evolutionarily it could have been beneficial in some point in time, but now it's obviously proven that not every person of one ethnicity is going to do poorly, and I do think there's still racism, but we're improving, and that's all I really want to say in a nutshell. And as always, like, favorite, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.